how to prioritize self-care in your life and what that looks like for you and why you find it to be such an important part of the work you do.
Yes. The self-care piece is so traditionally difficult for us ladies because we are going in 7 gazillion directions, right? We've got between kids and parents and school and work and just everything in life. We all have that busy, crazy schedule. And we oftentimes take care of everyone else first. We don't prioritize ourselves. And, we hear, so often that we've got to fill our own cup before we can fill others.
Yes.
And we know what we should be doing. We just don't necessarily apply it because we're so busy taking care of everybody else.
Right.
So it is so important. And it kind of parlays into it does parlay into the, financial health. Our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, our financial health, all that is part of our world. And it's one big circle of what we are. And that's why it's so important to focus on that. So self-care is the first module of my program. It's let's get us righted up. Let's get us on track before we talk about the mechanics of everything else.
I love that. That's such a beautiful approach and not something you see a lot in the financial world. That's not something somebody talks about. When did it become that thing for you? And from a personal standpoint, where you knew you needed it for yourself and you also knew the importance of attaching it to this work you do?
I think the seed was planted. The seed was planted decades ago, really, when I was going through my divorce. My son was 18 months old. And I was just, like every divorce, emotionally distraught and, fearful and, all the emotions, the gamut of emotions that happen. And I knew that I couldn't take care of my son and everything else that I needed to take care of without taking care of me. And I didn't always take care of me first. I was very consumed with making sure that he was okay and making sure that, I had an income. At the time, I left the corporate banking world and I had my son. We had been trying for 5 years, finally got pregnant with in vitro. And so I was like, I'm going to stay home with him. I've got to figure out a way to make this happen. So I was just, nose to the grindstone, just, trying to find work and just getting all that in order. And of course, he, was my first and foremost priority. So the self-care didn't always come, but I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to find a way and find a time. So I was always a big proponent of working out. That was my sanity. When I didn't exercise, I was a little feisty.
If you feel it in everything.
You do. You really do. I mean, it does ripple out into your world if you don't take care of you. And that physical, that taking care of you can look like a lot of different things. It could be meditation. It could be prayer. It could be taking a walk. It could be talking to a good friend and having a good conversation. It could be playing pickleball. It could be, whatever it is that you do to just fill up your, your cup. That's where we need to start.
Confidently setting boundaries. You became, you became a single mom. I'm sure you work with a lot of people that move into that space. So those boundaries where you are creating that space for yourself, and that's hard to not feel guilty about that. But talk to me about what you've learned about boundaries over the years.
Yeah, it is important to set boundaries without feeling, like you said, that guilt. We feel like, we should be taking care of our kids right now, or we should be, the woulda, shoulda, couldas just eat us. And it is about really prioritizing and blocking that time out, setting those boundaries to, okay, if I've got to get, whatever the situation is, if I've got to get my kids up and out for school at, 7:30 in the morning, maybe I've got to get up a little earlier, half an hour earlier, and set my alarm for 5 o'clock. So I have an hour of complete time for me and just dedicate that time. And when the kids come home from school and they're doing their homework, you're like, kids, I'm going to, take a 15-minute time out for mommy, and I'm going to go step inside my room, stay focused on your homework, whatever that is. But let the kids know, because I think it's important that we show our kids that we're taking care of ourselves, because that shows them it's so important to take care of themselves when they grow up and become, and not even when they grow up, but just, this is how we do life. Right?
Yes. That modeling is so important.
Yes.
Our words are just words if they don't see it being practiced. I love that you touched on that. It's so important. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but taking care of our emotional health as much as our physical health, you talked about earlier. If you don't get that, work it in, feeling feisty, but also financial stress takes a toll on our mental, emotional, and physical health. So talk to me about that tie-in with all your own life and your work.
Yeah. So, I'll share funny, it's not funny at all. I'll share a story that is somewhat intriguing, I guess is probably the word. Shortly after my divorce, probably a couple weeks after, I remember distinctly laying in a fetal position, just sobbing, thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? I've got this little, toddler. I'm not working, and then the missing of the marriage and all that happens. And I remember just laying there, just distraught, and this weird download, I call it a God wink, came into my mind, and it was, you're going to be okay because you know how to manage your money. And at the moment, I wasn't even thinking about the financial piece. I was just thinking about, my son and work, and it was weird. It was a very random thought. And I thought, okay, well, that's very strange, but okay. And that was kind of when the seed was planted. And that was, again, many decades ago. And I remember, months later when I was coming out of the fog of everything, and I thought, I'm going to somehow do something in my life where I'm turning this experience around. And I know other women are feeling lost when it comes to money, when it comes to investing, just what to do. And the biggest thing that I hear, I spent many, many years as a mortgage advisor, and then more recently as a financial advisor. And a lot of the common theme was, I don't want to run out of money. Do I have enough? I don't want to be a burden to my kids. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't understand this. This is scary. They're embarrassed. There's shame. And some of those emotions, and I just, it was over and over and over again with these conversations. And I, this is a judgment-free zone. There is no shame in this. There is no need. You weren't taught this in school. You didn't learn it at home. I don't understand or speak French, and it just because I never learned it, or it's like if I never learned it, if I heard it at home, why would I know it, right?
Right.
So the good thing is you're on the journey to now become empowered. You are beginning to learn, the mechanics of money, and it's just about learning it. Once you learn the mechanics of money and you learn some of these steps, then you've got it, and that's great. And then you can teach your kids, and how amazing would that be?
Yeah, that all those tie-ins, I love that. You said empowered, I think, and when you feel empowered, that is very calming, I think, into your system. Yes. When you have that sense of control and that stability, I think, we as women all want security. We want that stability. We want to know that everything's going to be okay, especially when it comes to our kids. Sure.
And that's a core need for us, right? It's food and water and shelter and stability. Seriously. And when we don't feel that, and typically the financial piece of it is the weak link, it's frightening. But when we do get that and we have that financial confidence, it is a game changer. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you find, because I'm sure you deal generationally with women. Single women, those that are divorced, maybe in various stages of their lives, but then also the widowed, you may deal with some older women, and you and I, our generation was just kind of that first generation where there was even a possibility that women might make more money than their partner if they're married. And it still wasn't prevalent, but it was the first time it was even a possibility, but still not the norm. So, so that generation even ahead of us, how is it, how do you have to differ your approach with the different generations? Because we're just really, I feel like I have daughters in their 20s, and they're very mindful of being financially astute, but I feel like they're kind of the first generation of women that are really taking ownership of that. So talk to me about how that is.
Yeah, I think that we are starting to see some states begin to teach the financial literacy in schools, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do see that this is among the 20-somethings and 30-somethings that there is more empowerment. There is more discussion. It's more discussed openly.
Yeah.
I think with our generation, I'm a boomer, and my generation was, you don't normally talk about it. My parents did discuss money, and I come from a family of 5 kids, and my parents were, if you want something, you've got to figure out a way to get it yourself. So I was entrepreneurial very, very young. Funny story, I actually, at the age of 9, I started my own little candy business where I sold candy out of my garage because we lived up in the hills. If anyone's familiar with the Los Angeles area, which is where I'm out of, we lived up in Sherman Oaks, which is about 3 miles away from any stores. So we couldn't just run our bikes to the market easily or walk to the store. And I thought, well, if I love candy, I'm sure other kids in the neighborhood do. So I would go buy bulk candy with my mom when she went to the store, and then I would sell them to the neighborhood kids.
That's genius.
And then I graduated to ice cream bars. My parents had an outside refrigerator and freezer, and so I stored my stuff in there. But I digress for a little bit there. But the story was about just when you have to find a way to make your own money, you get creative, and you to do that. But back to your point, I know I sort of went on a tangent.
No, I love that background though.
A little squirrel. But in any case, I think that yes, generational, we are seeing things differently. When I was a financial advisor, we had clients in their 60s and 70s. Typically husbands took care of the money, and they just let them do it because they were comfortable letting the husband take care of it, and then lost the spouse to a passing, typically, sometimes divorce, and were completely overwhelmed, had no idea even where statements were, even idea, what were invested in, just didn't have a clue as to anything. And it was, gosh, talk about just being in a place of fear. It's like,
exactly. We fear those things we don't know because it's terrifying.
Right. And then how do I take care of this money? And, we as advisors, handle that for them. But for those that aren't working with a financial advisor, it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So interesting. And I'm so glad to see the progress. But different, depending on who you're working with, you have to be like, okay, what sphere are they in? What was their background in this? Oh my gosh, but such important work. All right. Thanks for sharing on that. I appreciate that insight. Your work is a model of this, but talk to me how you got to this space. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think I have an idea, but this will give you a chance to elaborate on how we can support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically. You're doing that, but talk to me about your journey in that.
It was a journey. And I think in time, we each step into our greatness based on our, personal journey, our personal path. I think it's important that we surround ourselves with individuals who support us emotionally and mentally, and that we are confidently stepping forward even when we're uncomfortable. So it's about being comfortable, being uncomfortable, right?
Right. Yeah.
I haven't coined that saying. I've heard that before. I'm not sure who coined it, so I'm sorry. But it is about just doing things afraid and moving forward and taking those little baby steps to learn whatever you have to learn. And be judgment free. I think we as women, especially, we tend to judge ourselves really hard. And I'll speak for myself. I always, and as I've gotten older, I've become less of this, which is good. I'm hard on myself. It's like, oh gosh, I should do this. And another kind of ironic story. I was the one in my marriage who managed the money and did the investing, and I was the one who understood it all. My ex-husband didn't understand any of it, so he'd let me handle it, and it was fine. And although I was the one who knew everything, and I had that God wink moment I shared earlier. Yeah. As time had progressed and I was doing things in life and trying to navigate things, I was still in that emotionally distraught place, and I made some bad decisions, and I knew better. And I knew better. I looked back and I went, Patti, what the heck? You shouldn't have, what were you thinking? And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself some grace. It's okay. You were in a place and it is what it is. Let's move forward. So don't hold on to that. Oh, God, I'm just so frustrated. I don't understand this. No, that doesn't serve you. You've got to let that crap go and just step into what's, coming in the future and let go of, whatever was in the past.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that, because when we as women talk about what you just said, it empowers other women to be like, okay, I can give myself a break. And recognize, okay, that was a choice. And given where I was at the time, that, but yes, I can move forward. I can learn from that. I can be better. But it's showing up and talking about these experiences vocally and authentically that I think gives permission for other people to feel like they can come along and do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is about even the, educated individuals. I had this knowledge and I still did silly things.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's absolutely okay. We learn from them, we let go, and we move forward.
The importance of setting and coming back to your why and your values and everything you do. I think this is really important when it comes to how we spend and use our money. And so talk to me about the why and the values piece, not only in your personal life, but in the work and what you teach.
Yeah, my big why. Well, my why was always my son. He was always the piece that I when I didn't want to get out of bed, he's always been my why. He's now 27 and, he's essentially launched, but, he continues to be my why. But as I have gone through, it's a combined 20 years between a mortgage advisor and a financial advisor, and these many, many conversations I had with ladies, that I decided to leave that comfortable job of being a financial advisor and go out on my own and do this coaching, so that I can touch more on the behavioral piece, touch more on helping these women from that different level. And my why is really to make a movement and an empowerment for these ladies, because I know that once they feel comfortable and once they're in a happy place, they can then spread that out to their loved ones. And then that ripple goes out into the world. And how beautiful would that be if we can see this kind of change? This is just one element, of our world. But I speak a lot of the different pieces in my program, but it is so important to just have that confidence and know that you can learn this, and that the financial umbrella is not that complicated. It really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love that, again, it's just that ripple effect. You change things generationally.
Yes.
And that's so important. And that's how we move forward and changing all these other spaces too, because if you can come up feeling comfortable in that area, then it just blossoms into other areas as well, as we as women move forward and work together and try to make these changes that are best for all of us in the world. So I love that you shed light on that. Thank you so much for that. So important, and appreciate you, the courage it took for you to step out, and do that. Was that scary, or was it just like, no, it's just time? Talk to me a little bit about that transition, because that's bold.
Yeah. So I've had a few friends call me ballsy.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. Yes, it was scary. It is scary. But I feel very, very aligned with what I'm doing. I feel very I feel very purposeful. And I feel like this is truly what I've meant to do. And I think, again, that seed was planted decades ago.
Sure.
And as I've gone through life and had my experiences, it's a culmination of all my work experience, my personal experience. I'm also a certified life coach, so I weave a lot of that into the program and just my work. And I know that this is so needed, and I know that I can make such an impact and inspire women. And the fear of regret came to a point where that was greater than the fear of failure. I just never wanted to look back and go, oh, I should have really done what I truly felt in my heart.
Yeah.
And I just wish I could have a do-over. And, at 85 years old, it's obviously too late.
Yeah.
I'm doing this kind of late in life. I'm turning 63 in a couple months.
Yeah.
So, my friends are looking at Medicare and retirement, and I'm like, I'm going to pivot and start a new, a new business. But I don't need to work 70 hours a week. I have my choices, but I feel like this is such a need in the world that I want to do what I can while I'm still standing.
Yeah. I love what you talked about that, listening to that we have an inner knowing, we have an instinct, and I think need as women to learn to trust that. We've been told by the culture not to trust those things in ourselves. And I think we really need to dispel that myth. I love that. And also it's not too late to launch your dream, to launch that thing that feels authentic to you. You don't, if you didn't do it in your 20s, 30s, 40s, I'm 53 and I just, have started this venture I'm on, and it's the greatest adventure I've taken. And I feel like I'm just at the most creative space in my life. So, I think, listen to this and know that there's not a timeline or a deadline on when you can offer something relevant. If your inner knowing is telling you it's time to go down a path, I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think learning to trust our intuition is so critical. And we women have a very strong intuition. And it's just about having that stillness and quiet to be able to listen to it and then take steps towards whatever that is saying. And I feel truly that if there's something in someone's heart, if they have a dream for a particular business or to do whatever, it was placed there for a reason. I'm a big believer of that. And if that's your desire, that's your reality. You just got to take the steps towards that. Yeah. Be bold enough and brave enough to take those steps, baby steps, just little things, one little thing every day. And then suddenly a year later, you look back and go, wow, look at how far I've come. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that baby steps. Start with something that feels doable, and then just to make a movement each day. I think that's so important. And you mentioned this earlier, you talked about friends starting to think about retirement and whatnot, and you're just embarking on this. So talk about living out of your own expectations versus others' expectations and how you're seeing that play out over your life, but even right now.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I ignore the outside noise. Outside expectations, that's just like, okay, that's your filter. Whatever you're saying, feeling, whatever, that's through your colored glasses. That's your world. That's not my world. Yeah. We have the ability and capability to do whatever we want and to step into our greatness. I know I mentioned that earlier. Possibilities, opportunities are endless. And if we have that mindset that, there are things everywhere. And there are. If we have that open mind, opportunities and possibilities will start to be attracted to us. We become a magnet to what we are thinking. If we're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm this, you're in this victim role and I'm always going to be broke, or I'm always going to have this struggle, or that's what you will attract. You will stay stuck there. Yeah. So, find friends who support your growth and hang out with those that are a few steps ahead of you, so that you kind of ride their coattails and learn from their, from their path. Yeah. But outside expectations, I've had the comments of, why did you leave a comfortable position as an advisor and, benefits and medical coverage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because it wasn't in alignment with, I'm taking that knowledge. I love what I did. I love working with clients. And so I'm taking the same knowledge and experience, and I'm just using it differently. Yeah.
And I think making it available to women who wouldn't find you otherwise, because it can be intimidating to go into some of those financial spaces where you came from. Whereas I think this is going to allow you to reach women that you wouldn't reach otherwise. Have you seen that? Does that seem to be the truth?
Yeah. So a lot of times when I was with my firm, I would take the incoming calls that were from the website or from an event or whatever. And many of those conversations were with divorced, widowed or single women, and they didn't have the portfolio size. A lot of financial planning firms have a different level. And so we couldn't necessarily bring them on as clients. And I felt bad that I had to sort of, turn them away.
Sure.
And I would oftentimes have a conversation that lasted an hour with them, kind of guiding them as to what to do and how to, what their next step should be.
Yeah.
But I couldn't bring them on as a client. And I found that very frustrating too, because I know, there's a countless number of women out there who, aren't sitting on $1 million and still need some guidance. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Probably maybe more than the people with $1 million.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. And that makes sense when you lay it out that way. Accepting the layered aspects of ourselves. You talked about really well earlier how you had to just own that even with all your knowledge, you made some mistakes along the way, and that happens, and that's part of our journey. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about your journey and accepting those layers, all those pieces about us, the good, the bad. I mean, you've gone through some tough stuff with, having a hard time getting pregnant, going through a divorce, having to figure out how to navigate all of that. But also seeing in your journey where you are today and what you're able to offer, I would say all of those things played a role in that. But it can be hard to not push aside the stuff that was difficult or not as pretty to talk about. So just talk to me about your layers journey.
Yeah, I think it's important to, as we're going through those layers, we're all going to go through seasons of stuff. We're going to go through seasons of amazing times and seasons of challenging times and painful experiences. And I think I'm a believer that every one of those is it's an opportunity for us to grow. It's an opportunity for us to take the lesson out of whatever that pain is.
Yeah.
To step back and go, okay, this is really, crappy. What can I do with this? And it's hard at the moment you're in it to think like that, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with trying to survive.
Yeah.
But once you get past that and out of the fog, you can look back and go, okay, let's somehow take this and learn from this. And I mean, life is full of things, right? I mean, it's
a beautiful mess.
It's a beautiful mess. And people with health challenges. I watched my dad, he passed away in 2020, and I watched him struggle. And my mom currently has advanced dementia, and she's still with us physically. She still knows who I am, thank God. But, it's still she's not who she was, obviously, with dementia.
Yeah.
And that is just a beast.
It is. We just lost my mother-in-law to Alzheimer's in March. So
okay,
I know that it's a painful, difficult journey.
Oh my gosh, it is. It is. And while I'm in it, and it's been years and years, this thing can last.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, okay, what's the lesson in this when you're in the middle of just, a crap storm. But, if there's nothing else, it's like, life is so precious. And I'm going to do what I can to make this life as fun and as loving and caring and impactful as I possibly can. Because I don't know if when I'm 85, I'm going to have dementia. I don't know if that's going to happen to me. I mean, that's a fear, right? It's in the family. So, I am just going to do what I can today, take control of what I can today, and not fear the future, not dwell on the past, and just sort of take the present moment and do what I can, just having faith that it's all working out for its, greatest good.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. And, I think that you realize too, as you go through, that you can't experience the joy without experiencing the pain. It's all part of the package. And so if we start stuffing things and then we're not processing those emotions, it doesn't allow the space for the good stuff, because this other stuff is taking up space that you're trying to stuff down and ignore. So I think just remembering how precious life is and seizing every moment the best that we can. Yeah. Great insight on that. Thank you so much. And living out feel, finding empowerment, embracing layers. Talk to me about how that has affected your relationship with yourself as well as with others, and how it allows you to to do this work you do with these women?
I think the culmination of my experience and my not work experience, personal experience, going through my different seasons of life, I have in time become. I mean, I've always been a loving, compassionate person, but I've become more compassionate and more driven to find ways to serve and take away the pain that others are experiencing. And it's one of those things where I think all of us have our own journeys. And if we can find a way to take that darkness and make it lightness, like you said, there's always the contrast.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, it's hard to do that in the moment.
Yeah.
But just knowing and having faith and believing that this too shall pass, and that you will get to the other side, and at the other side you will be able to somehow take that experience and serve others. I mean, my divorce was extremely painful, and now when I'm speaking to a lady who's going through divorce, I understand that pain. I understand that place, and I can relate to that. So I'm walking that journey, with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are all such complex, beautiful humans, and our layers are what it defines us, but it doesn't. I think that the layers make us who we become, but we aren't who we are from an outside external situation, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's how we're processed our experiences in life, and how we turn that around to to serve others, to help others. I mean, I think that's the greatest gift, really.
Absolutely. And it's so comforting when you're going through a tough time to have someone say, I get it, I've been there, and walk alongside you. That can be the light that you need in a dark day. There's so much power in that. And so I can only imagine the difference you're able to make just with that alone. And then on top of it, are able to offer this other experience to help them and empower them. I think there's so much good in that. And probably just creates a trust too. They're like, oh, she gets it. She's been there. She can walk this out with me. She understands, because I think that's so important. Thank you so much for that. We are down to the rapid fire. Name 5 activities that nourish you.
Ooh, 5 activities. Well, I just started playing pickleball, and that's a hoot. I am having a heck of a good time with my little pickleball. So that's a newer one.
Yeah.
I meditate. I daily, I do my transcendental meditation. I actually got trained at the David Lynch Foundation in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So that was very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I do that. They say twice a day, and I haven't been able to do that, but I do it every single morning. That has been a game changer. Yeah. I exercise almost every day. So it's either weight training or a walk. Walk is very healing for me. And I will talk to myself while I'm walking and have those conversations. Funny story. I will sometimes put my phone to my face and talk because I don't want people to think I'm talking to myself.
That's hilarious. That's so funny because, you think of, even if you have your earbuds in, if you don't see someone's earbuds in the store and they're just talking, I've many times turned around and thought somebody was talking to me and even like waved or said hi or tried to respond, and you're like, oh no. Yeah. But the fun thing, that's funny. They're like,
I put the phone on, I'm just having a conversation with myself, and they don't know no one's there. Unless the phone rings, I'm in trouble. But,
that's so funny.
When we had to wear our mask over COVID, we thing. But I would oftentimes I'd walk through the market and I'd be talking to myself, and I'm like, I'm really glad I'm wearing my mask right now because no one can see me.
It's muffling all of that.
It was a whisper. I'm not like talking loudly.
Sure.
But, I like this mask right now because no one can tell I'm a basket case.
Hey, you're just working it all out. I'm a self-talker too, so I understand that.
I think it's great. You do sort of self-talk. You're like your own therapist.
Absolutely.
It's all good. Let's see. What was that? Was that 3 or 4? I forgot my count.
I think it was 4.
Okay. So, spending time with my sisters and my friends. I love spending time with loved ones. I get so much nourishment out of a good conversation and just spending time with them, and that just feeds my soul and my heart when I get to be with my love.
Yeah, absolutely. So important. And so, that's so filling. It's part of that cup filling process. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Inspiring, impactful, of service, loving, and just giving of my time.
Well, you're doing that beautifully, and it's been such an honor to share your story today, so people get a really good feel and background of what drives you to do this important work that you do. Speaking of which, this is all going to be on our website in our sources doc. We'll have an intro to Patti in our show notes. It'll be featured on our social media. But tell us right now, if you're driving down the freeway, don't worry, you don't need a pen and paper. You can find it those places. But talk to me about how we can find you and anything you want to share about what you do.
Sure. Well, I have a program. It's called Minding Her Money, and it's a digital course and a coaching program. There's a couple of ways to get involved. At the end of the day, the transformation is financial confidence and peace of mind. We go through there's 9 modules, and each module is one piece of your world. So we start with self-care. We go into our money story, which is our self-beliefs, our limiting beliefs around money and our relationship with money. We talk about getting organized, debts, paying off credit cards, creating a budget, spending. We talk about credit, getting your credit score up and why that's important. We talk about investing, of course. We have 2 modules on investing. One is a little bit more complicated with tax strategies. We go a little bit deeper with that. But it's all spoken in very simple language. The group coaching is a great place for you to be with other women who are going through this. So my website is pattihandy.com. It's PattiHandy.com. You can click on the Minding Her Money tab to download the roadmap that I have for my program and watch a short training video to learn just kind of more about what I do and reach out to me there.
Tell them the name of your roadmap. It's so I love this name of your roadmap.
So that's actually, it's Badass Investing. That is just one module of the 9.
Okay.
So that map that's on there is just the Badass Investing module. But the entire Minding Her Money roadmap of the entire program, you also get when you download that Badass one. So you'll get 2 roadmaps really when you jump on there. And those are the 9 areas of your life that we focus on in the program. But the Badass Investing is awesome. It's a great module.
I love that. And I love just the empowerment within that. I think that gives like a feeling of, I got this straight.
Well, so. You know what I always say when people say, what do you do in 10 words or less? And I teach women how to be badass money managers. Yeah. I love it. Comfortable with their money. And that's what you're going to get at the end of this. You're going to feel that confidence. You're going to have the tools. It's structured. It's very structured. It's very, simple to follow. And it's just going to be a life-changing experience. And they get lifetime access to the modules. So they can watch it and then, watch it with their kids if they want to teach their kids some of this information.
Oh, that's so good.
So yeah, I'm very excited about it. It was a long time coming, and it's going to be very impactful.
Oh, it is. And thank you so much for sharing these gifts and your knowledge with women and giving them this confidence and this empowerment and all we talked about, all the settling that does on your health, on your mental health, emotional health, that peace you can have to knowing that you know how to take care of yourself and your family. I don't think we can say enough about that. So appreciate your work and how you pour into women. Field Podcast audience, like I said, go to embracinglayers.com. All this information that Patti shared will be in there in our sources doc. We'll have a blog about this. She will be featured in the show notes. So if you're driving down the freeway, don't you worry. There'll be places you can find this, or you can just listen back to the episode and take notes. That's all there too. But Patti, thanks so much for your time today and the difference you're making in the world.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed it so much. All right, Field Podcast audience, feel empowered. Go check out Patti's resources. Get control and give yourself that knowledge. Fear is the thing that gets in our way. So remove that fear and use these resources that are out there, and have a great week.